Is that you? Have you come back to the channel? Hang on, it's a little dark, but fortunately I brought my lantern with me, so this will help. Anyway, let me turn on some lights. How's it going, everybody? Steve here. The lights are back on. As I alluded to in the intro, today we're going to make some of these little lanterns, and they just use standard tea lights. My wife had a bunch of these, and I wasn't sure what she was ever going to do with them, so they're not very attractive on their own. They're just fairly simple things. In this case, the ones she had have this interesting kind of flickering effect to simulate an actual flame, so they actually look quite nice. And you can build these things really quickly. They just use vellum to simulate the rice paper. If you have real rice paper, great, use it. And then they're just cut out of Baltic birch or poplar. With that, let's get started on the project. This one should be fairly quick. It's a bit tricky to put together, but it's not intimidating. It's good project if you're working with the kids or grandkids, and it's a fun thing to do on a Saturday afternoon. So let's get going. Okay, we'll start with just a really quick walkthrough of the pieces we're going to put together. So we'll start with the base. It's got 4 slots, one for each of the sides, and then that hole in the center to hold the tea light. On the sides we have our side panels, and I just created some traditional sort of simulated Chinese pattern here. You can put anything you want on the center of this. It could be, if it's seasonal, it could be a jack-o'-lantern outline, or a Christmas tree, or a heart if it's Valentine's Day, or maybe it's some special occasion. Anyway, you can create whatever you want on the inside of these, and I'll make all of these SVG files available. I'm using Fusion here, but I'll export them all. So there'll be 4 of these, and we'll just glue a piece of vellum or rice paper on the inside, and then when we put them together, you'll get that nice Chinese lantern effect. Next we have the top, and the top is very much like the bottom, except instead of a round hole for the tea light, it has a square hole which we'll use to feed a hook into that loop, and that hook is this. There's actually going to be 2 of these glued together, so we get a kind of a 6x6 millimeter square at the bottom, and it'll just seed into those holes. And then there's, to create that kind of pagoda lantern effect, we'll have two stacked caps. The first one is slightly smaller than the thing I called the top here, and then the second one is even smaller still. So you'll get the 3 layers on the top here, if you can see that. Next, I'll throw it all over to the laser and cut it out. This will work on any laser, any software, so don't worry if you have the right kind of laser, right power. As long as you know the power settings to cut 1/8 inch or 3mm birch, or in my case poplar plywood, you'll have no trouble. So let's get going. All right, we have everything we need here. We've got our 4 side pieces, a base, and 3 top stack, and our hook, and I took the liberty of gluing this together already. So I'm going to start with the side pieces here, and I'm going to glue them to the vellum. And what I want to do is make sure I don't get the paper glued to this tab down here. So I just want the surface inside the tabs. And the reason for that is because we don't want that paper sticking, because it's got to go into a slot. So we want it to be close to the right thickness. And so that's all I do. And just take your finger and rub it just to get rid of any blobs that are there. Helps to have some paper towel handy. And we're just going to drop it on there, press it down. And with my utility knife, I'll just cut it out along the edges. and free it up. We also want to make sure we cut along the tab here, just so we make sure we cut that piece of paper off. It's probably better if I cut this little tab out first and then just run the knife along the edge here to cut that off. So that's it, and I'll do the other 3 and we can pick up when I'm back. Okay, so I got all of the faux rice paper put on here, and I have my tea light. You can see it's one of these just basic cheap tea light off of Amazon. I can put a link down below. So what I'm going to do is first start gluing my base, and so what I'll do is I'll just take a bit of glue and just run it on that piece that I cut out on both sides. And again, sparingly, we don't want to use too much. And wipe off the excess. Just a finger rub. And it always helps to have paper towel handy. And then we'll just set this in. And it should fit in fairly easily into the slot there. Okay, now we're going to start with the first of 3 layers on the top. It makes a bit of a canopy on the top, and I'll just run the same kind of glue pattern on the insides of all of these. Now this is the hard part, trying to get this lined up, and the easiest way is to get it started on one first, and then the rest of them will usually slide into place pretty easily. Okay. This one out. There we go. All right. Now, next layer lines up just on top of the end grains here. And that's the easiest way to tell it's square. So we'll just put some glue on the inside here. And here we can be a little more liberal. It doesn't really matter too much. And we'll drop it on. Get it nice and straight. And that's not too bad. And the final one. Now it don't worry too much about the alignment yet, because we're going to put that key in. That key holds these 3 layers together and more or less square. So get it started, and then we'll put this key in. Hold it in there and put it in. Wiggle it around, and when it's all the way level with the top, that means it's in all 3 of those. Now the last step here is to put the tea light in. Now the tea lights I got are tapered on. They're slightly wider at the bottom, and I don't know if that's a standard trait of tea lights, but the way the hole is cut in the bottom, you can kind of push it in there a bit so it's statically held. And these tea lights that I have actually have these 3 little feet on the bottom. And there we go. So now the moment of truth. Let me turn out some lights here so we can see this. And there's our nice tea light. These are nice. You can actually hang them up on a hook. This loop is actually functional once the glue is dry. And we can build them. I actually built another one here. It's actually the same kind of wood. I just put a bit of stain on it to kind of make it a little more traditional, but I like the white one as well. So there you go. Well, this was a simple project. We're starting to integrate a lot of the principles I did from some of the earlier videos. So for example, you know, the vellum, using vellum, which is paper that draftspeople use, or architects, using that, kerf compensation. Now, kerf compensation is the hard one. So if you're interested in how to handle that, I'll put a video up here. If you're interested, go watch that, and I'll see you over there. Otherwise, assuming your lights are on, go make your world, and I'll see you next time.